Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you sent us loads of material, really fascinating stuff about corporate jargon from that earlier deep dive, episode 94.
Yeah, some really good examples came in. Hilarious, some of them.
Absolutely. So today we're basically trying to crack the code. Our mission really is to give you that kind of cheat sheet.
Right, helping you figure out what's really being said behind all those buzzwords in, meetings, emails,
Yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. Like when your boss says, let's leverage our synergies, what is actually going on there? Is it, A, they have a plan?
Or B, they're completely winging it.
Or C, maybe they just had their third, like, MBA program coffee. We want to help you decode it.
By the end of this, yeah, you should have a much clearer picture of what's behind phrases like ideate best practices or
Yeah.
circle back offline.
For sure. And we're going to look at sort of three main types of this corporate speak.
Okay.
First, the ones that sound productive but are often kind of vague, like actionable.
Mm-hmm. Actionable insights?
Yeah. Then there's the big ambitious stuff, paradigm shifting.
Ah, yes, the game changers.
Right. And finally, the maybe more, hmm, strategic uses, maybe even a bit manipulative sometimes.
Interesting. Weaponized jargon.
Could be. And we'll definitely unpack why circle back pretty much just means I forgot about this.
Or I hope you forget about this.
Huh, probably. And low-hanging fruit, spoiler, it's got nothing to do with getting your vitamins in.
Definitely not about apples or oranges.
So, yeah. Ready to wade through this stuff, this linguistic maze.
Let's do it. Let's disrupt some paradigm.
Okay, let's start with this idea of a corporate jargon dictionary, which, you listeners have basically helped us build with your examples.
Right.
A really common one that popped up was actionable insights. Sounds great, doesn't it? Like insights you can actually do something with.
It sounds perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing from, the submissions is that it often just means something like, okay, here's data.
Right. We looked at some numbers.
Merely. Maybe somebody should do something sometime. The actionable bit. It often doesn't specify the how or the when or even the who.
Yeah, the who is often missing.
And what's really interesting there is the reason for using it. It gives off this vibe of progress, strategic thinking.
Hmm. Without actually having to commit.
Precisely. No commitment to specific actions.
That's a really good point. It's like saying you're going on a trip, but not saying where or how you're getting there, just journey.
Exactly. And what about thought leadership?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone seems to want to be a thought leader.
Oh, yeah. Big one.
And again, on the surface, it sounds like, wow, real innovation, thinking ahead.
Leading with thoughts.
Right. But if you look at the bigger picture, like all the content being churned out, the pressure to publish,
Mm-hmm.
thought leadership can sometimes just be a label for stuff that, well, like a lot of listeners pointed out, just kind of rehashes ideas.
From where? Like business bestsellers.
Yeah. Or, that conference everyone went to. Maybe they add a personal story, change the angle slightly.
So it makes you ask, is it really about leadership or just generating thought? Any thought. Originality optional.
That's the question, isn't it? It taps into that pressure to always seem like an innovator.
Even if genuine breakthroughs are, pretty rare.
They are.
Okay, then there's blue sky thinking. Sounds
Yes.
so expansive, creative, limitless.
It's a lovely picture. Blue skies, fluffy clouds of ideas.
But what's the reality on the ground according to the office stories we got?
Well, the reality seems to be that these sessions often feel a bit aimless.
Like brainstorming without guardrails.
Kind of. Unproductive brainstorming, maybe? No clear goal, maybe the ideas aren't very practical, or they just get forgotten afterwards.
So everyone feels like they contributed.
Yeah, there's activity participation.
But nothing actually happens with the ideas.
Often, that seems to be the case. It's that gap, isn't it, between the aspirational name and the sometimes pretty tangential reality of the meeting.
Totally. We got this amazing message from a listener. They said, my CEO announced, let's boil the ocean.
Oh, wow. Boil the ocean. That's ambitious.
Right. And the listener said, I just nodded. I'm still Googling what that actually means.
That's brilliant. It perfectly sums up that feeling, doesn't it? Being totally lost, but feeling like you have to pretend you get it.
They're nodding along, yeah.
And that points to something deeper, maybe, like an insecurity in how we communicate at work. That fear of looking like you don't know something.
Definitely. Which is why having some coping mechanisms can be really useful.
Strategies for navigating the jargon jungle.
Exactly. So, okay, for those moments when you're just completely lost in buzzwords, we've got a few survival tips. First one, the triple nod.
Ah, the triple nod. Yes. It's subtle, but effective.
How does it work?
Okay, so someone drops some really dense jargon. You're lost. You start with a slow nod, very deliberate.
Okay. Slow nod implies deep thought.
Precisely. You're considering it deeply. Then, after that nod,
What's next?
you say simply, interesting.
Interesting. Gotta get the tone right, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
Kind of thoughtful, maybe drawn out slightly, like
Yeah.
you're processing something really complex.
Okay. Slow nod. Interesting. And the final move.
The flourish.
Yeah.
You finish with, let's pressure test that.
Ooh, pressure test. Sounds very analytical.
It does. It suggests you're ready for like a serious evaluation, even if, you're mostly just buying time to figure out what on earth they just said.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's fascinating how these little cues, nonverbal and sort of vague verbal ones,
Mhm.
can make you seem totally on top of things.
It's great because it kind of puts the ball back in their court, doesn't it? It makes them explain it.
Exactly. And they might struggle to do that without using, well, even more jargon.
Vicious cycle. Okay, we also have a pro tip for instantly acquiring that like wise guru vibe in a meeting.
Okay, I'm listening. How do I become a guru instantly?
It's surprisingly simple. You just start almost any sentence with, at the end of the day.
Ah, the classic. At the end of the day.
And then you add a little shrug, just a subtle one.
A shrug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why the shrug?
I don't know, but the feedback we got suggests this combo. It just radiates wisdom, like hard-won experience, you've seen it all.
Huh. It's like a verbal sigh almost. World-weary wisdom.
Yeah.
It implies you've weighed everything up, considered all the options, and now you're delivering the simple, profound truth, even if it's obvious.
Without actually needing to explain your complex reasoning.
It taps into that desire we have to seem experienced,
Yeah.
insightful.
Brilliant. Okay, now let's get the listeners involved a bit more directly. Time for this Swiss Buzzword Bingo Challenge.
All right, a mission for our listeners.
Yes, your mission, should you choose to accept it, it's got 3 parts. Ready?
Lay it on us.
Part 1, listen out for the word bandwidth, specifically when it's clearly code for, I just can't be bothered right now.
Or, that sounds like work I don't want to do.
Exactly. Or, that's low on my priority list. Just notice it. Make a mental note of the situation.
Okay. Spot the bandwidth excuse. Got it.
Part 2. We challenge you to use the word pivot. But in a conversation that has 0 connection to dancing or basketball.
So, like, pivoting the topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Or pivoting your approach to lunch.
Yeah. Any kind of non-literal pivot. Change direction midstream. See what happens. We want to hear about the reactions.
Okay. Deploy pivot unexpectedly. Can be fun.
And finally, part 3. This one's for the brave or the thirsty.
Uh-oh.
Take a sip of whatever you're drinking every time you hear the word synergy in a meeting this week.
No, okay. Disclaimer time.
Haha. Yes. Just kidding. Mostly. Please drink responsibly. Stay hydrated, folks.
But it does highlight how these words, synergy, bandwidth, pivot, they're just everywhere in professional life, aren't they?
So ingrained. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the often baffling world of corporate language.
Hopefully you feel a bit more equipped.
Yeah, hopefully better able to sort of navigate all the twists and turns.
Indeed. Now you're all set to, interface with your stakeholders.
Uh-huh. About your core competencies.
Like a true change agent. You can go into those meetings with, well, maybe more confidence.
Whether that's because you actually understand it now.
Or you've just mastered the triple nod and the strategic shrug.
Hey, whatever works. And speaking of navigating tricky workplace stuff,
Yes.
our next deep dive, we're tackling team building exercises. The theme is how to survive team building exercises without losing your soul.
Ooh, that sounds essential. Definitely needed.
So yeah, make sure you're subscribed for that survival guide.
Absolutely. Looking at all this jargon, it really makes you think about communication itself, doesn't it? Clarity, directness.
Why do we use these complicated roundabout phrases so much?
Right. What's the pressure there? What are the kind of cultural reasons? And what would happen if we just said what we meant more often?
Something to chew on. Maybe we could just action that thought.
Let's circle back on it.